Let's be real for a second. Have you ever set a huge New Year's resolution, felt super motivated, and then watched it just completely fall apart by February? Yeah, we've all been there. But what if I told you the problem isn't your motivation? What if the problem is the goal itself? Let's get in. So, why do we give up on our goals? It's a super frustrating question, right? We usually just blame ourselves. We think, oh, I'm just lazy, or I just don't have enough discipline. But the truth is, it's probably not a character flaw at all. We're failing because we're using a flawed strategy from the very beginning. And that flawed strategy, it almost always starts with setting some massive, earth-shattering goal. We get so excited about the finish line, but we don't really understand the journey to get there. So in this first part, let's break down exactly why that go big or go home approach is pretty much set up to fail. Okay, take a look at this. This graph perfectly explains the frustration. See that straight line? That's what we expect. We think I put in the work, so my results should go up in a nice, steady line, right? But reality is that curved line at the bottom. Progress is slow, so slow at first that it feels like nothing is happening. And that gap, that space between what we expect and what we're actually getting, that's what James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. It's the danger zone where almost everyone gives up. So, here's the thing you have to remember. Mastery takes patience. Real, meaningful change feels like it's taking forever, and then it feels like it happens all at once. That initial period where you're getting almost zero feedback is tough, it's discouraging, but it is a totally normal and necessary part of the process. You just have to hang in there long enough to get through that valley. All right, so if setting huge goals is the problem, what's the fix? Well, the answer is pretty amazing. It's all about shifting our focus from that massive, far-off result to the smallest possible action we can take right now. And this whole idea comes from the incredible book Atomic Habits by James Clear. It completely flips the script on how we think about self-improvement. It's not about a mad dash to the finish line. Nope. It's about the slow, steady buildup of tiny, almost ridiculously easy wins. And the name itself really tells you everything. Think about it. Atoms are the tiny, fundamental building blocks of, well, everything. Atomic habits are just that. They're the tiny, irreducible building blocks of amazing results. We are talking about changes so small that they feel completely insignificant on their own. So, how do we actually put this into practice? The book has these 4 laws of behavior change, but today we're going to laser focus on what I think is the most powerful one for getting started. It's the 3rd law, and it's beautifully simple. Make it easy. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Make it easy? Isn't that lazy? Isn't that cheating? Absolutely not. It's just being smart. See, our brains are literally wired to save energy. We will always, naturally, lean toward the easiest option. So instead of fighting against our own human nature, this strategy works with it. It's all about removing the friction that stops us from getting started in the first place. And this story from the book just drives the point home perfectly. So, a photography professor splits his class into 2 groups. The quality group, he tells them they'll be graded on just one single perfect photo. The quantity group, they'll be graded purely on how many photos they turn in. So what happened? Well, all the best photos, every single one, came from the quantity group. Why? Because they weren't sitting around theorizing about perfection. They were out there taking action, experimenting, making mistakes, and actually learning. They prove that action beats perfection every single time. Okay, so let's make this super practical. You want to read 30 books this year? Forget that. Your new habit is to read 1 page per night. That's it. You want to run a marathon? Don't even think about the 26 miles. Your new habit is to just put on your running shoes. The goal is to make the action so small, so unbelievably easy, that it's almost impossible to say no. But here's where it gets really interesting. There's a much deeper reason why this works so well, and it's not just about tricking ourselves into getting started. It's about building something way more fundamental. It's about building your identity. This quote, which is featured in the book, is the perfect way to think about it. Every tiny habit, every time you read that 1 page, every time you put on those shoes, is 1 tap of the hammer on the stone. For the first 100 taps, it looks like nothing is happening. But you're not wasting your time. You're building up pressure, you're creating the conditions for that breakthrough moment. So let's be really, really clear on this. Reading 1 page a day is obviously not going to get you through a whole library this month. That is not the immediate goal. The real point is something so much more important. The point is to become the type of person who just shows up, to become a reader, to become a runner. Every time you do your tiny habit, you are casting a vote for that new identity. When you show up, even if it's just for 2 minutes, you are reinforcing the fact that you are someone who is consistent. And that, right there, is the foundation for everything else. And this is the golden rule. You need to burn this into your brain. A habit must be established before it can be improved. It's so simple, but we forget it all the time. You can't optimize a workout routine that you never actually do. You can't improve a habit that doesn't even exist yet. The first step isn't about being great. It's about being there. Establish the habit. Master showing up. Then you can worry about making it better. Okay, so we've talked about the problem, we've talked about the solution. Now let's bring this all home and figure out what you can do like right after you finish watching this. When you boil it all down, it's about one thing: friction. The reason we fail is because there's too much friction, too much effort between us and the good habit we want to build. Our job is just to be a friction detective and find ways to remove it, to make the path to our good habits as smooth and downhill as possible. So I'm going to leave you with a question. Just one. Forget about your huge, ambitious goal for a minute. What is one goal you have right now that you can shrink? How can you scale it back so that it takes 2 minutes or less? Make it so small, so simple, that it feels harder to not do it than to just get it done. That, my friend, is your first atomic habit. Go find it.